Would you like me to pull on your pants, Chester? I won't charge you extra. I'd like to pull on your pants.
Wally, the Beav, and a bunch of secrets you were never supposed to know. This is the real Leave It to Beaver. Before the internet, before smartphones, before even color TV, millions of Americans were glued to their screens every week for one reason: Leave It to Beaver. The Cleavers weren't just the perfect 1950s family. They were the blueprint for generations of sitcoms to come. But behind that picture-perfect home, there were battles with censors, strange production choices, and cast dynamics that you'd never expect. Leave It to Beaver may have seemed simple on the surface, but there was a lot happening under the hood. So let's dive into 10 fascinating, funny, and downright surprising facts about Leave It to Beaver, some of which will change how you see the show forever. Number 1. Jerry Mathers got the role because of a Cub Scout meeting. The most famous kid in TV history almost missed his big break, and it's all thanks to Cub Scouts. When Jerry Mathers showed up to his audition wearing his Cub Scout uniform, he told the producers he was in a rush. He needed to get to his troop meeting and didn't want to be late. Instead of seeing it as disrespectful, the producers were impressed by his honesty, confidence, and real kid vibe. That single moment sealed the deal. Mathers didn't read lines like a trained actor. He just was Beaver. And that authenticity helped him connect with millions of viewers over the next 6 seasons. The takeaway? Sometimes just being yourself is enough to win over a room, even in Hollywood. Number 2. It was the first TV show to show a toilet, kind of. Television in the 1950s was full of unspoken rules, and one of the strictest: you couldn't show a toilet. Seriously. Even though Americans used them every day, TV censors saw toilets as too vulgar for family viewing. But Leave It to Beaver changed that, sort of. In one episode, Beaver hides a pet alligator in the toilet tank, and the script required a shot of the tank. The network panicked. After a back-and-forth battle, producers were finally allowed to show just the top of the tank. No bowl, no flushing, nothing too graphic. It might sound ridiculous now, but that tank shot cracked open the door for more realistic home settings on TV. Number 3. The show almost had a totally different name. Can you imagine watching It's a Small World every week instead of Leave It to Beaver? That was the original name when the pilot first aired in 1957. While the show had heart, the title just didn't stick. Viewers weren't sure what it was about, and it failed to leave a strong impression. The producers knew they had something special, but they needed a name that popped. So they went with something unique, catchy, and kid-focused. Leave It to Beaver. Not only did it work, but it became one of the most recognizable titles in television history. Number 4. Eddie Haskell was based on a real kid. That ultra-polite, secretly snarky neighbor Eddie Haskell wasn't just a genius character. He was a real person. Well, sort of. One of the show's writers based Eddie on a childhood acquaintance who was the definition of two-faced. Around adults, he was the picture of manners. Around peers, he was a troublemaker. Ken Osmond brought the role to life so perfectly that Eddie Haskell became cultural shorthand for fake politeness. Even decades later, if someone calls you an Eddie Haskell, it means they see right through your act. Number 5. The episodes were shot in order. Almost never done today. Television production is a puzzle of locations, schedules, and efficiency. Most shows jump around, filming scenes out of order to save time. But not Leave It to Beaver. The crew filmed nearly every episode from start to finish in the same order it aired. Why? Because their young stars were still learning the ropes. Shooting chronologically made it easier for them to stay in character, follow emotional arcs, and understand what was happening in each scene. It made production slower and more expensive, but gave the show a smooth, consistent tone that helped it stand out. Number 6. The cast grew up, but the show didn't want them to. Leave It to Beaver was built around childhood innocence, but real kids don't stay little forever. As the series progressed, both Jerry Mathers and Tony Dow were growing fast. By the final season, Beaver had a noticeably deeper voice, and Wally was practically an adult. But the scripts kept them in that same childhood bubble, riding bikes, pulling pranks, and learning life lessons. Writers tried their best to keep the tone consistent, but eventually, the gap between the characters and the actors became too wide to ignore. That growing up dilemma is part of why the show wrapped after 6 seasons. Number 7. People thought the Cleavers were a real family. For many fans, Leave It to Beaver wasn't just a sitcom, it was real life. Audiences felt such a strong connection to the Cleavers that they started treating the actors like actual family members. Barbara Billingsley often got stopped in public by people who wanted to know how her boys were doing. They truly believed she was June Cleaver. The cast handled it with grace and even leaned into it. That level of viewer trust is rare. It's proof of just how believable and beloved the Cleavers were. Number 8. June Cleaver's pearls weren't just for style. June Cleaver vacuumed in pearls. And it wasn't just because of 1950s fashion. Actress Barbara Billingsley wore the pearls to cover a hollow in her neck she thought looked odd on camera. The lighting and black and white filming often created deep shadows on her neck, and the pearls helped smooth things out visually. What started as a practical fix turned into a signature look that helped define June's character as the perfectly composed housewife. It's a reminder that some of TV's most iconic style choices started as behind-the-scenes problem-solving. Number 9. The cast stayed friends for life. In Hollywood, on-screen chemistry doesn't always translate to off-screen friendship, but for the Leave It to Beaver cast, it absolutely did. Jerry Mathers and Tony Dow remained close for decades, appearing at fan conventions, interviews, and even working together on the reboot series in the 80s. Barbara Billingsley stayed connected too, calling them her TV sons until her passing. Their real-life bond made the show's warmth feel even more genuine, and gave fans a reason to keep loving them long after the series ended. Number 10. Leave It to Beaver wasn't a hit until it reran. Here's a twist you might not expect. Leave It to Beaver was never a massive hit during its original 6-year run. It had solid ratings, but it didn't dominate the charts. It wasn't until syndication, those endless after-school reruns, that the show truly blew up. New generations discovered the Cleavers, and the series became a nostalgic favorite for millions. So if you grew up watching Beaver long after the 50s, you helped turn it from a modest success into an American institution.